Hello everyone. In this video, we're going to be taking a look at an article from the Tennessean. Now, this was published on the 25th of December. It's written by Yihun Young, Brinley Heineman, and Mariah Timms. Basically, if you weren't aware of this, there was an RV laden with explosives that went off in Nashville. Now, if you take into account the day it went off, the fact that it's a holiday, the fact that in the location where it went off, in that vicinity, you have AT&T, an AT&T location, and also a courthouse. No matter how you look at it, this is an act of terror. I don't care what anyone says, because there was some motivation, political, societal, or whatever, driving that. Now, regardless of the fact that the RV had a warning coming out of, warning where it was telling people that within the sound of the voice to evacuate the area, regardless of that, and the fact that it gave a countdown, which is to minimize human harm. Part of what happened here was about creating terror. Yet, no one wants to call it what it is. They don't want to say that it was an act of terror. I mean, look at the title. Nashville officials relieved explosion did not claim lives. Resolved to find motive suspects. Well, look at the story highlights. AT&T service disruption cripples 911, 911, ground flights after explosion. Residents report RV sounded alarm before bomb went off, offering fair warning to those in area. Congressman believes infrastructure was target. That's possibly more dangerous. Well, okay, infrastructure. An act like that against it can be considered an act of terror. The fact that there's a courthouse in the vicinity. Now, I'm going by what other reports have said, that there is a courthouse in that area as well. I mean, if this was directed at that, or if it was a twofer, actually would be more accurate. But if it was a twofer, I mean, kind of lines up with that, with that idea of it being an act of terror. But yet, hey, let's not even go there for whatever reason. Nashville is turning from relief to resolve. Mayor John Cooper said Friday evening after an early morning explosion downtown upended Christmas Day and caused destruction for several blocks. Yeah, this is how powerful it was. It caused several blocks worth of destruction. I mean, this is a serious issue. But you look at how lightly they're playing this. I mean, if they could do the Trump supporter angle and all that, they would instantly be jumping on the terror bandwagon. But they don't know what it is. Like, who they can blame it on at this point. But I bet you if it was linked to a supposed Trump supporter, they're instantly going to call it an act of terror. You know that, I know that. That's one of the circumstances where they will. If it was someone from BLM or Antifa, they're going to avoid that. Like the bubonic plague. They will not label it as such. No known suspects nor motive have been announced behind a bomb that detonated inside a parked RV on Nashville's historic 2nd Avenue near Lower Broadway. Police have found what they believe are human remains, but have not confirmed any fatalities. Now, this is what's funny. In the title, relieved explosion did not claim lives. But they find what looks like human remains, and it's like, oh, nothing to see here. This is a few sentences in. You got to love the hypocrisy of the reporting here. They believe they're human remains, but there's, no one died from the explosion. Okay. Cooper, at the last update for the evening, said the relief that not more people were injured has now turned into anger and determination to bring those responsible to justice. Well, yeah, but I'm sure if it's like Antifa or BLM or something like that, their idea of bringing to justice will be at most a slap on the wrist. Or a revolving door with the DA going, yep, nope, dropping charges. This was a terrible day, but Nashville has faced other challenges, particularly this year. We can rebuild and get back to normal, he said. This morning's attack on our community was intended to create chaos and fear in the season of peace and hope, but the spirit of our city cannot be broken. I mean, when you put it like that, I think you're kind of hinting that this was an act of terror when it's being done on one of the holiest days for Christians. Huh. So it could either be terror because of government, terror because of religion. I mean, take your pick. It pretty much comes down to that. I'm sorry, but this is just ridiculous. Call it what it is. I mean, you should be calling this what this is. This was a terrible day, but Nashville has faced other challenges, particularly this year. I mean, you got to love that. It's like playing this down, saying, well, we've had, I'm sorry, but you haven't had bombs going off in your city before this point. I don't know how you can play it like that. The authorities say the explosion was deliberate and intentional. Well, of course, duh. Of course it was. Seriously, you get RVs just spontaneously explode? They spontaneously give out a warning for 15 minutes prior to it happening? Of course this was intentional. Police came across a suspicious RV parked outside a nearby AT&T building near 2nd Avenue and Commerce Street before 6 a.m. when responding to calls of shots fired in the area, according to Metro Police spokesperson Don Aaron. There was no evidence of any shooting, but officers and witnesses heard a broadcast coming from the RV giving a dire warning. Evacuate now. There's a bomb. A bomb in this vehicle. A bomb is in this vehicle and it will explode. Then the voice started a 15-minute countdown. Metro Police John Drake said the 6 officers at the scene quickly began to evacuate the area, going door to door. They redirected a man walking his dog along the street. Now, it doesn't necessarily have to have a massive loss of human life to be considered terror, because terror is about putting fear into people. It's not, killing innocent people can be part of that. But you can create terror without killing them, without killing, innocent people. So, I mean, the idea that this isn't a terrorist attack because they had people evacuate, they gave fair warning. I'm sorry, but that's still a terrorist attack. Terrorists have given fair warning before they've gone and done an attack before, saying, well, yeah, we're going to do this to you. So I don't see the difference. The RV exploded at 6:30 a.m. as the bomb squad was en route. The force of the explosion knocked an officer off the ground and gave another officer what police hope is temporary hearing loss. 3 people were hospitalized with injuries. Police say it is unclear if anyone was inside the RV when it exploded. The tissue found near the site had to be examined to confirm if it's human. There were no reports of fatalities as of this Friday afternoon. They find what very well look like and appear and seem to be and everything like that. Human remains. No fatalities. I'm guessing, human remains just don't come falling out of the sky, human tissue and such. But hey, whatever. We will find out who did this, FBI Special Agent in Charge Matt Foster said at a Friday afternoon news conference. This is our city too. We're putting everything we have into finding out who is responsible for what happened here today. I gotta love this. They'll put ridiculous manpower in figuring out a door pull at a NASCAR track as a door pull. They will not spend any time looking into the event that happened in November that shall not be named, and the idea that there was massive what. But the FBI will actually look into this, and I'm sure, if anything, watch. This will probably be one of those radicalized by their, agency types, if anything. I just got a feeling it could be that. You find some anti-government individual, you create a situation, I mean, because this seems like the idea of like, I'm going to get as many people out of here as possible, being like, whoever did this didn't, has at least, how do I put this? Because what they did was morally wrong, but they at least have some morality in regards to the loss of life. Cooper issued a state of civil emergency at the explosion site and the surrounding area, and a curfew that started at 4:30 p.m. Friday and went until 4:30 p.m. Sunday. I don't understand how a curfew in the area is going to do anything. I mean, like the street where, shit went down, I can understand blocking that off to deal with cleaning it up and investigating, but the surrounding area that's affected, I don't see why you would need to have a curfew for the surrounding area. The area affected are bounded by James Robertson Parkway, 4th Avenue, North Broadway, and Cumberland River. Now, what happens if someone went out for Christmas, comes back? Are they going to be allowed back into their homes? Are they going to get busted with this? Or I mean, this is like, that's why I'm saying there's no need to do the surrounding area. It's not like they're looking for a suspect or anything in that area at that point. But whatever. Relief turning to resolve. Cooper said Nashville will not be deterred in finding the people who orchestrated the explosion. It will be some time until 2nd Avenue is back to normal, he said, reporting at least 41 businesses in the area had been damaged in connection with the explosion. 41 businesses are screwed up by this. I'm sure most of them are small mom-and-pop type places too, of course. Drake celebrated the work his officers did to evacuate nearby buildings when the situation was fluid and uncertain early this morning. Those officers saved lives today, he said. They immediately began knocking on doors, not knowing if the bomb was going to go off immediately. They didn't care about themselves. They didn't think about it. They cared about the citizens of Nashville. They had a countdown. I mean, I can understand you might be skeptical if you're like, okay, yeah, do I trust that they're going to be honest that there's 10 minutes left? But they had a countdown. They had an idea at least. I'm not negating or trying to minimize what they did, but they knew what they were. First off, the police, part of their job. Second, they knew what time they had left. I'm not trying to negate what they did with that. I'm just making a point. I'm pointing it out. Drake said the department had received no threats prior to Friday's explosion, calling it a total surprise, with no known motive as of Friday evening. He said it's too soon to know whether any specific building had been targeted. Well, they're focusing on the AT&T aspect, but they're ignoring that there's a courthouse in the same area, or at least from what reports have said. Because, anti-government doesn't look good. And taking out the infrastructure, a little more palatable and selling a narrative. Who's to say it wasn't a twofer? As Nashville Fire continues to evaluate the buildings around the blast site for structural safety, Chief William Swan said that many residents have been displaced. Well, of course. I mean, that's going to happen when something like this goes off. I mean, you look at like the footage or pictures from like the explosion after like screen caps or whatever. It looks like a war zone. I mean, that place got fucked up. That's that block, those blocks, I should say, several of them, 7, what it is, they got really tattooed and screwed. In a trying year for Nashville, which has seen a tornado and grappled with a deadly global pandemic, Friday's explosion is now the latest threat to the city has faced. Oh my God, it's not like everyone else hasn't been dealing with, the Wu flu. Let's throw that in there. Let's pile that on top. Oh my God. Cooper called 2020 the year of first responder. Nurses and doctors have been in the lead, and now our police force and certainly our firemen are catching up, he told the Tennessean. He said this year has brought trials and tests to the city, but the glimmer of hope is that we can do it. The mayor called 2020 Nashville's hardest year ever, but he's confident the city can band together in times of catastrophe and heartache. Oh, really? You don't think the times of when it was in the Civil War? You don't think those times were worse than now? You don't think the Spanish flu, which is far worse than what we're dealing with right now, they didn't have more trying times back then? How about the Great Depression? How about during the Civil Rights era? I can name many times in this nation's history where Memphis has clearly gone through far worse. I mean, you got to look, it's far worse. Like, no, that's not how it works, buddy. Learn history. When you make these claims, it doesn't look good. This is the most trying time ever. You know, I love it when I hear like millennials and you know, young people go, oh, the worst time ever. It's like, do they teach history in class anymore? Like with these millennials, it's like, did you learn history in school? Because I did. I mean, I'm Gen X. I'm at the tail end of Gen X, but I'm still Gen X. I mean, I learned history. So, did you? Because these people don't understand that. They just automatically assume we have things tougher now. No. I want to take to 2021 the knowledge we can work together as a city, he said. This is just a hard year of practice for us learning how to do that. Let's get on to tackling problems and create the greatest city in the country. Yeah, okay. Explosion contributes to 911 wireless service disruption. Well, when you have an AT&T location right there and a RV goes boom, that's kind of expected. AT&T service in Nashville and Middle Tennessee was affected for many customers Friday, said company spokesperson Jim Greer, citing damage to facilities from the explosion. The outage affected 911 access in several jurisdictions across the region throughout the day. We are in contact with law enforcement and working as quickly and as safely as possible to restore the service, Greer said. Flights out of BNA Airport in Nashville were halted Friday afternoon due to telecommunications issues associated with the incident. The airport reported just before 6 p.m. that most flights are resuming, but there may be some delays. Now, I wonder, were the delays strictly because, the communication? Or were there other reasons as well? Because you just had a bomb go off in the city. I mean, to me, you might want to make sure if the person's trying to get the hell out of Dodge, so to speak, you're going to have things buttoned up. So I think that might be a bit of a convenient cover on why flights were down. And, you know, they might have locked down, say, the airport, the train station, the bus station, yada, 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 so on and so forth. So I don't know if I should take that completely at face value or not, because it would make sense for them to lock down places like that after a bomb go boom. But hey, whatever. The Nashville Convention and Visitors Corps announced Friday afternoon a $10,000 contribution towards a reward that stands currently at $31,000 in the case. Like everyone, we woke up this Christmas morning to the horrible news of the explosion on 2nd Avenue. Our hearts, thoughts, and prayers are with all involved or affected. Butch Spiridon, NCVC president and CEO, said in a statement, "This is when we show the world who we are. Thank you all for everything you do for our city, and stay safe. I believe in Nashville." Fair warning. Betsy Williams, the owner of the Melting Pot building across the street, told the Tennessean that guests reported the RV was stationed there since Thursday night. Williams, who lived in a loft apartment on the 3rd floor, said she heard the sound of loud, rapid-fire gunshots at about 4:30 a.m. After multiple rounds of gunshot sounds, Williams said she called 911. Then she said she heard a repeated warning she said came from the RV parked outside her building. Now, this should tell you something about who is behind this explosion. Most people blowing shit up don't give fair warning like that. She recalled hearing the announcement warning of a bomb and to evacuate. Then it started counting down to the explosion, she said. Williams said she, her spouse, and family left the lofts in their pajamas. She took her cat Mavis but left her valuables behind. They headed to Nissan Stadium and waited. When they didn't hear an explosion, they headed back. They were at 2nd Avenue and Broadway when they saw a fireball fly over the AT&T building on 2nd Avenue. Whoever did it give fair warning, Williams said. You mean whoever did it gave fair warning? Williams said. Wow. She saw the windows of her loft were blown out. Her Christmas tree was still on inside. That's one tough tree. Still standing, lights on. Wow. Oh, God. I'm sure the lights were still on. I'm just making an assumption. You know, that would be like one hell of a thing. It's standing there, lights still going, like nothing happened. All the glass blown out in the windows that it was standing in front of. Oh. Aaron confirmed investigators believe the recording heard by witnesses originated from the vehicle. You know, that didn't sound like a recording. That was more of an automated voice from what I could hear of it. So I'm thinking, you know, it was like voice software. They had the thing, you know, maybe like a Raspberry Pi or something running the system or some shit. Who knows? Just something that would be capable of doing this. You know, I mean, this sounds like it has some tech involved. It really does. Aaron confirmed investigators believe the recording heard by witnesses originated from the vehicle. Well, you get everyone saying it, so yeah. Michael Smalley, executive vice president of Cruise America, the nation's largest RV rental firm, told the Tennessean that due to the age of the RV, it is unlikely it was rented out by a company. The age of the vehicle could be a giveaway for law enforcement tracing its owner, he said, since not many like that are rolling around, making it conspicuous. I'm kind of shocked and stunned that a vehicle like this was used in a crime of this nature, he said. Why? I mean, like a van, it's great for packing explosives in. Probably even better if you think about it. Because if you have a van just sitting there, you know, in that area, people are going to think twice. But if you have an RV and, you know, you got like a hotel, like the bed and breakfast or a motel or hotel, whatever it is the lady's running across the street, you have that? Huh. Looks like they were traveling in the thing and then they might have decided to get a room at the place. Doesn't look that suspicious. Doesn't look that out of place. To me, that seems like it would be a good vehicle to use as camouflage. He believes, based on photos shared publicly by MNPD and the RV is at least 10 years old. The age makes it more traceable, he said. Safety sweeps continue into the afternoon. Several people were taken to the department's central precinct for questioning, but authorities declined to give more details Friday morning. The downtown area was sealed off with an active investigation underway, led by the Federal Bureau of Investigation with the help of Nashville state and federal agencies. I would hope so. I mean, I want to see, you know, I think we need to see who the hell was behind this. Though authorities said there were no indications of additional devices, police were going door to door with dogs in the downtown area to search nearby buildings. Now, to me, that's a little overboard there. Going buildings door to door, you know, sending you and your police and your dogs in. Clearly, they used vehicles in this. What would give you the idea that they're going to put something in a building? To me, it sounds like that was just an excuse to get into people's homes. That's just me, though. Two families vacationing in Middle Tennessee for Christmas came to 2nd Avenue North Friday afternoon to offer prayers and well wishes to the Nashville community. Well, that was real nice of them. It strikes the heart of America, said David Leatherwood of St. Petersburg, Florida. We're here to stand in solidarity with the people in Nashville to say we love Nashville and we love Tennessee. That was real nice of them. You might have want to wait a day or two, but I understand going down there. Lawmakers react to explosion. President Donald Trump has been briefed and will continue to get regular updates, according to White House Deputy Press Secretary Judd Deere. The president is grateful for the incredible first responders and praying for those who were injured, Deere said in a statement. The sounds of explosion Friday morning could be heard miles away as people reported windows shaking from south and east Nashville. Well, I mean, it looks like there was a pretty decent amount of what I'm going to assume was AMFO in there. Plumes of black smoke filled the air with several fires seen along what was typically a busy street that intersects with Nashville's famed tourist attraction, Lower Broadway. Alarms inside several buildings were heard, with water pouring into some buildings with structural damage and broken windows. I mean, this is some serious shit, of course. I mean, we're lucky we didn't see any buildings actually collapse. You know, we're lucky we didn't see any of stuff like that. Trees lining 2nd Avenue were blackened from the incident. U.S. Rep. Jim Cooper speculated as to the motives of the device's creator on Friday afternoon. We don't know yet what motivated this terrible crime, Cooper said in an interview with the Tennessee on Friday afternoon. This may be the worst Christmas in history. Really? There have been worse Christmases, buddy. In this world, there have been worse Christmases. In this country, there have been worse Christmases. It looks like to me terrorism against infrastructure was involved. The recording before the blast seems to have reduced loss of life, and that's not typical of terrorism. Generally, terrorism is to sow fear among people, but this infrastructure attack, that's more abstract, and that's possibly more dangerous. I love how they're focusing on the AT&T thing, but I mean, reports said that there's a courthouse in the same area. At least that's what I read. Why are we not looking at that? I mean, AT&T. I don't know. Cooper cited the widespread 9/11 access issues caused by the AT&T outages as evidence that the region's digital backbone took a serious hit. He called the blast, if it was an attack, a deeper, more insidious crime. Well, of course it was an attack. On what it is still up for debate. Nashville Fire Department Chief William Swan said urban search and rescue and hazmat teams were checking for victims and structural damage in the area surrounding the blast. We will keep working until the job is done, he said. Governor Bill Lee, in a statement, said the state will provide needed resources to determine what happened and who is responsible. You know, the talking heads and pundits and all these other people would be normally jumping at the chance to blame a Trump supporter for this. I don't understand why there's such hesitation here. Maybe because they know that might not be like the type of situation. I mean, it's really strange. It seriously is. U.S. Attorney Don Cochran said in a Friday afternoon news conference that he had been in contact with acting U.S. Attorney General Jeffrey Rosen, who said he was devoting the entire resources of the Department of Justice to help. You know, you see all these irregularities, all these strange happenings, and the thing that happened in November that shall not be named, and nothing to see here. We're not going to devote any resources. But the whole Department of Justice is going to get involved in this. This is serious, but on the same note, the other situation is serious as well. You know, nothing to see here. We're not going to devote shit. This, we're going to put all the resources behind it. Anyone with information on the explosion is encouraged to go to FBI.gov, Nashville, blah, 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 to submit information. Like a bomb went off. Really? Of course. A bomb did go off, dipshit. Mayor John Cooper said he toured the damage, describing broken glass and water mains with insulation blown up into the trees. Well, yeah. It looks like a bomb went off, he said. This guy is the freaking mayor. This is like completely retarded shit. You go to a place where a bomb went off. And then you go and say it looks like a bomb went off. That's some like majorly like low IQ shit that like someone like Dan Quayle would say. You know, it is. It's something that like that would come out of his mouth. It's like something that would. One more event in Nashville's 2020, he said. Andrew Carr, who was staying at the Viridian Apartments on 4th Avenue and Church Street, told the Tennessean he jumped out of bed when he heard what sounded like a giant thunderclap. He looked out the window and he saw a huge fireball rising up behind an AT&T building on 2nd Avenue and Commerce Street, describing it almost as wide as the building itself. Carr said for the next hour, he and his family watched the black smoke plumes rise into the sky and could later see debris on top the AT&T building. Residents in the apartment building, he said, have been put into lockdown. The owner of the nearby Nashville downtown hostel told the Tennessean guests were evacuated to Nissan Stadium for shelter. He said they got a call early Friday from his staff reporting hearing a loud boom and the fire alarm going off. He said the hostel is damaged, but didn't go into details. This story is developing. Well, of course it is. You know, then they get all the tweets. But yeah. I mean, they're already focusing on the fact of the AT&T building. They're not jumping at this idea of, calling it terrorism, except for, what someone said later in the article when, to me, this is, got the earmarks of being an attack like that. I mean, you're trying to sow fear. Okay, you don't necessarily have to kill to sow fear. You look at it that way. Okay? And yeah, it is, because you're still going to create fear with this. You look at the fact of the day it happened, the fact that they're focusing on the AT&T aspect when I've seen other reports saying how there's a courthouse in the area. It's like they're almost trying to set things up here, and they're waiting until they have them set before they declare that whatever it is type of thing. Declare the bomb going boom, what they're going to declare it, I should say. I mean, that says a lot about the situation. Ignore a courthouse in the area. Focus on AT&T. They're not saying how this is an act of terror when you see a vehicle go boom and blow up a bunch of shit. That's an act of terror. You had like a good example, the IRA. There were members of the IRA that did the exploding thing. The boom boom thing. Some of them did not have a moral compass in regards to loss of innocent life. They had no problems with it. There were others in the IRA that did the bombing thing, that did. And they would put out fair warning and let it be known. Yeah, we're going to blow this shit up. Get the fuck out of Dodge. In this type of incident where they did that, that was still considered an act of terror. Now, for some reason, we can't call it that. Well, we don't want to jump to conclusions. Look at the legacy media with that. Yeah, it's just a little strange. I mean, the whole thing is just strange to me with what's going on and how they're handling it and how they're just instantly jumping on the AT&T thing and going infrastructure. But like I said, yeah, it's a messed up situation. Anyway, I've covered this well enough. I'm going to leave things here. If you liked this video, depending on where you are watching it, please give it an upvote or thumbs up. If you want to know when new content of mine hits the internet, don't forget to subscribe to one or more of my social media or video accounts listed here. Also, with YouTube, don't forget to ring that bell. You can find all of my video content on both BitChute and YouTube. This may not be the case with other places I upload to, but I will try to minimize this happening. You are always welcome to interact with me at any of these sites on the list, so feel free to do so. If you have anything you want me to cover in a video, when it comes to news or current events, send it right along to me. I will try to do my best to cover it. As always, thank you for watching.